him and escape to a position where I can strike. Here my opponent establishes side control and drops his weight down to keep me pinned. No problem, you can still execute this technique. Now I demonstrate how to escape the bottom mount position. It is a simple technique, but it is very important that you drill it over and over. So I start by placing my right arm across my opponent's hips and pushing him away to create space. This allows me to place my left elbow to the inside of his right leg and elevate it. With his body forced away and his right leg elevated, I slide my left knee underneath his right leg. Then I force his right leg away using my left leg and establish the half guard. One more time. My left elbow enters here and I push him away. At the same time, I pull my left leg out and place it against the inside of his leg. He is balanced on top of me, so I put my elbow in, lift, and get my knee to the inside. One more time faster. Now I show an escape when your opponent obtains the back position. The first thing you must do in this position is defend your neck. So I obtain control of the arm my opponent has wrapped around my neck with his left hand. If your opponent manages to wrap his arm all the way around your neck, then you want to pull his arm away. If your opponent is controlling your neck like this, then you need to pull his arm away from your neck. So I control his hand here, lean back, and use my right hand to pull his right hook off of my leg. Once I remove his hook, then I sit down on top of his leg to prevent him from re-establishing it. Next, I turn into my opponent and establish top control. With my opponent attacking my neck, I have to defend against the choke. That is my primary goal. Next, I remove his hook, sit on top of his leg, and then turn and establish the top position. One more time, normal speed. My opponent attacks my neck, I defend against the choke, and remove his hook. Next, I sit on top of his leg, turn, and establish the top position. Notice how I drive my leg flat in this angle. This helps to pop off his inside leg hook. Now I show how to escape when you're in your opponent's guard and he locks in a triangle choke. What I don't want is to allow my opponent to move my right arm towards my left side because it allows him to lock in the choke tight. So when he applies a triangle, my first goal is to keep my right hand on his stomach. If you let your opponent cross your arm, it will be difficult to bring it back, so don't let it happen. With my right hand on his stomach, I maintain my base, look up, and push my right hand into his stomach. Look up and push on his stomach. If you lower your head, it allows him to lock the choke tight. So, once he gets the triangle, I look up and break his legs apart. To finish, I move my left arm in front of his right leg. Again, I show the defense for the triangle choke. First, I don't let my opponent cross my right arm to the left side of my body. If I allow him to do this, I'll be trapped and it will be very difficult to escape. So I place my right hand on his stomach, look up, posture, and break his legs apart. One more time. He gets the triangle, and I cannot allow him to lower my head, so I look up, push on his stomach, and break his legs apart. One more time. This is another way to escape the triangle choke when you're in your opponent's guard. In this situation, he has control of your head, which prevents you from looking up and posturing. To prevent my opponent from locking in the submission, I climb to my feet, step my right leg over his chest, and then drop back, breaking his legs apart. My opponent locks in the triangle. First, I prevent him from moving my right arm towards my left side. Next, I stand up. Notice how I'm grabbing my right hand with my left hand to prevent him from pushing my right arm to my left side. Finally, I step my right leg over his chest and drop back, breaking his legs apart. One more time. My opponent attacks with a triangle and controls my head. To escape, I stand up, step over his chest, and drop back. This is far too much leverage here for my opponent to maintain the triangle with the strength of his legs alone. The reason I step over his chest is to keep his back flat to the mat, allowing my upper body to pry his legs apart. Without this step, he may very likely follow you backwards and finish the triangle from the mount. Now I show a simple defense for when you're in your opponent's guard and he applies an arm lock. First off, it is very important to pay attention to your arm. When you do this, you can prevent your opponent from attacking your arm in the first place. For example, if I posture up and leave my arms lying across my opponent's body, he can attack them. To make it more difficult, I posture up with my hands down by his hips. However, even when you pay attention to your arms, you can still get caught. Here my opponent goes for the arm lock. The first thing I do is drive my weight into him to stack his body and wrap my free arm around the back of his head. This prevents him from straightening his legs and finishing the submission, and makes it less risky to pull my trapped arm free. Once I escape, I take advantage by spinning around my opponent's legs and establishing the side control position. One more time. I wrap my free arm around my opponent's head, drive my weight into him, and pull my arm out. Once accomplished, I pass into side control. One more time. He attacks with the arm lock, I wrap my free arm around his head, pull my trapped arm out, and pass. The trick here is to keep my opponent stacked. If I allow him to spin underneath me or force my head away from his, he will likely finish this armbar. He may also attempt to switch to a triangle as I rip out, but if you keep him stacked head to head, he will be past his legs before he can secure the choke. Now I demonstrate how to defend against the guillotine choke when you're in your opponent's guard. First off, you need to think about protecting your neck before attempting to escape. You do not want to hit him. You must defend your neck or you will pass out. So my opponent wraps his right arm around my neck, and I defend against the choke by grabbing his right wrist with my left hand and laying down with him. Next, I wrap my right arm underneath his head. If he is stubborn and continues to hold on to my head, then I post on my left leg, drive my right shoulder down into his face, and pull his right arm away from my neck using my left hand. One more time. He gets the guillotine and I defend my neck. I wrap my arm around his head, place my weight on his face, and pull his arm away from my neck. For Shinzo to finish this guillotine, he needs my hips and my head on the right side of his belly button, all on one side of his midline. So you can see here by driving my shoulder into his neck, walking my hips to the right, and driving them into the ground, I make this impossible. From here, I posture up. My opponent attacks my neck. I grab his hand, wrap my right arm around his head, pull his arm away from my neck, and posture. Now faster.